Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar. Today's webinar is the Accounts Receivable module, New Features and Functions. And it is for newspaper manager, magazine manager users who want to learn more about the accounts receivable. We're going to be focusing on 2016 enhancements. Many of you are already using these. My name is Mary Kate Klein. I'm one of the software consultants here at Mirabel. My background is in accounting and finance, and my experience includes several years in public accounting, and most recently, before joining Mirabel, I was a CFO with a publishing company in North Carolina. I'm really excited to be here. Accounts receivable is one of my favorite things, so I'm very excited to share this with you today. I want to remind you that the participants are in listen-only mode. However, you can still ask questions. Please use the question window in the GoToMeeting to submit your questions, and I have some of my fellow consultants online working to answer those questions in real time during the webinar. If we, for some reason, don't get to your question, we will be following up afterwards. The webinar will be recorded. You'll get an email with a link to the recording of the webinar probably later this week after the webinar concludes. Speaking of the recordings of the webinar, what I'd like to do first of all is to talk about the help section and where you will get those recordings. Help section is open by the little blue circle with the question mark at the top of your screen. So as I go here, you will see that if you look down in the left-hand side, here is a link to our webinars. We have upcoming webinars, and we have these scheduled out through the end of this year already, roughly once a month. Here's today's webinar. Then we have Digital Studio coming up in late October. Software Tips and Tricks in November, which is going to be a really cool one. You're going to have all those little hints that we've been gathering from our experience and our clients' experience, and we'll be sharing those with you. Then the last webinar, December the 27th, is going to discuss QuickBooks integration, which is also related to what we're talking about today with the accounts receivable. To sign up, come down into the webinars, upcoming webinars, click the sign up link and you'll be on our registration page. Also, our contact information is shown right here in the help section. I want to remind you all the consultants are shown here. So if you have questions or want to follow up, this is the easiest way to reach us. Simply click to open up our time trade calendars. You can look at our schedule and you can schedule training time. And speaking of training, I also want to remind you that our standard software plans all include a component of free training that's available every year. At least 4 hours, some plans have more. So if you haven't used your free training yet, you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. Take advantage of that before the end of the year. Don't leave anything on the table. That's a great resource. If you're not sure if you have any free training or if you've used your free training, talk to your software consultant. They'll be able to let you know that pretty quickly. All right. I think we're ready to roll. And the first thing we're going to do before we go into the new modules and the enhanced modules, I'm going to take you through just a review of invoicing, creating invoices in Magazine Manager. And we're going to go up. I'm on the consultant site. This is a site that we all use for testing and examples. So I'm going to go into Customers, Accounts Receivable, and I'm going to select a new invoice. And you'll see that the invoice screen comes up and asks you to choose a template, which I'm going to do. Today we're going to be invoicing for ABC Media, and I'm going to select that template. And you see that it comes up to select a date range. First of all, it's going to default to the current month, whatever month you're in. You can obviously use these hyperlinks. You can change it to next month, next week, back to this month, or you can individually change the dates. Then you're going to be opening up the filters, the various filters. You can and you will often be invoicing for a particular product. So I could come in here and choose my product ABC Magazine, choose the issues in the range, and I could create my invoices for one magazine. Today, I'm going to click the Reset button, and I'm actually going to invoice for everything in my ABC Magazine, All Zones business unit, because I have multiple magazines with multiple zones, and I want to invoice them all at the same time. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to go and show all records on one page, and I'm going to search. These are all the invoices that are ready to be billed out. These are contracts in the system. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to utilize my contact group when I bill because I have multiple terms that I offer my customers. I have an occasional customer that's on net 60. Most of my accounts I give net 30. So I'm going to add this contact group, which is a way to pull quickly only the ones you want, and I'm going to search again, and now you see I have one advertiser who requires net 60 terms. I'm going to select, I'm going to choose my invoice date. I'm invoicing October, so I'm doing October 1. I'm choosing my due date, November 30th, to give me my 60-day terms, and I'm going to invoice the selected items. It's going to pop up my screen. You see there's one invoice, although there were 3 ads. This is a consolidated invoice. So if I preview, you can see there is the consolidated invoice number, and here are the 3 individual line items. Also, looking at this invoice, you'll notice we have a click here to make your payment online. For those of you that are using the merchant account with Magazine Manager, your advertisers can click a link to go to a secure site and process their payments. It gives you the money through your merchant account and updates Magazine Manager. And to see how this works, I'm going to enter my customer ID number, which is on my invoice, and I'm going to enter the invoice number. I'm going to find my invoices. I haven't billed it yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, this is your invoice. I'm going to create more invoices, and I'm going to come right back in here, and I'm going to select my template, and I am going to, again, choose my product, choose my business unit. I'm going to search. I'm going to get all the rest of my invoices. I'm going to select them, and notice up at the top right, there is a checkbox for consolidated invoices. When you're invoicing in Magazine Manager and Newspaper Manager, if you have a customer who has multiple invoices, multiple contracts to be billed, you can choose the consolidated invoice option and you put them all on one document. Multiple line items, one document. And if you check this box, it will consolidate, uncheck, and it will create separate invoices for each ad. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to do consolidated invoices. I'm going to set my invoice date. I'm going to set my due date, and I'm going to invoice these. Select invoice. Now I'm going to be back into this preview screen. And again, you can preview your invoices. You could print them to a PDF, or you could email them from here. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to take one more step before I do that because I've got prepayments on the account, and I just want to refresh your memory on how to apply those prepayments. I'm going to come up into the Customers, Accounts Receivable, and I'm going to choose the AR Aging for Prepay Apply. It's going to bring up an aging. I'm going to run this as of today's date, and I'm going to view, and it's going to bring up a list of all of my aging, and it's going to show me the customers who have prepaid, unapplied prepaid, and if they have open invoices, you're going to see this display. For example, Acacia Automotive has $1,000. I'm going to click this link to look at the prepaid detail, and I can see they're prepaying their October issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it to the October invoice. This is the current invoice down at the bottom that I've just created. I'm going to zero out the application to this oldest invoice, and I'm going to enter $1,000. Then as I go down further, I've got some more people that I've just billed who I think have prepayments. Western Funding is one of these. I'm looking at this. I have $200. I'm going to apply it to the current invoice because, again, they were prepaying for their October issue. So I'm going to enter that. And then let's see what else I have. It seems like there was one more. Affairs to Remember. They had a prepay of $3,685. I can look again. I can see the history of the ins and outs. And I can apply this $3,685 to this invoice. I'm going to go down and I'm going to review all my accounts. I'm going to apply selected prepays, click OK, and I get my audit report right here. I'm going to print this out. As you can see, they say, please print this for your records, which is what we're going to do. I'm going to go right up here, click my printer icon. It's going to open up my printer driver, and I'm going to throw this into my accounts receivable file. Now, we've created all of our invoices for the issue. We've applied any prepayments. Now we're ready to go into the new invoice search screen. And we're going to talk about how you will search and how you will send out your invoices and the features that it has. I'm going to go into Customers, Accounts Receivable, and I'm going to select Search Invoices. This is going to bring up the new invoice search screen that was rolled out earlier in 2016. Now, some of you, search invoices may still bring up this older version of the invoice search. And if so, you've got an option to click at the top and it will redirect you to the same screen for the new invoice search screen. And I would suggest if you are still linking to that old screen, enter a support ticket or reach out to your consultant and we can update your menu and give you a direct link so you can use this all the time without having to do that extra click to reach it. So as we go in here, you notice this is going to default to all open invoices, just like the old search did. You can change it to all, and you get invoices with a $0 amount as well. You could also choose only your open barter, only your paid, only your past due. I'm going to leave this on open invoices for this particular search because I'm going to pull up a list of all the invoices that I just created. Actually, I'm going to change it to all so we can even see those that I applied the prepayment to. There are some new search criteria in here. One of them is business unit. You can see right here. You can now search by business unit. So I'm going to pull up all the invoices from my business unit, ABC Magazine, all zones. You can search by contact group, which is another new feature added here, which lets you control your different billing options. You can search by billing company name or billing company contact name. And you can also have the option to pull up the date an invoice was paid. If you're searching for a paid invoice and you know the check came in a certain date range, you can filter with a to and a from date for the payment date. So you have all these various options now on the invoice search. I'm going to pull up all of my invoices for ABC Magazine, all zones. I'm going to click Search. And you notice I have one tab for the invoice search, one tab for the invoice search results that show up. I'm going to go back and I'm going to add one more filter in here because I'm sending these invoices out. So I really only want the invoices that I dated October 1st. So now I'm going to hit Search one more time. And here are the search results. These are the contracts that we just invoiced. You'll notice, like our other newer reports, we have an action panel. If you click here, all the actions that you can take with the results are in this panel on the left-hand side. This little icon will open and close the action panel. Now, here are the invoices, and I'm going to email these invoices to my customers. I can preview them one more time. If I wanted to preview, I can select them. I can choose the preview button, and I can preview with payments to see how they're going to look when I send this out to my customer. I'm going to go through. It's going to show the invoices and how they appear, and you can scroll through these. And notice this invoice has a payment applied to it and has a zero balance due. This is Acacia Automotive. It's one of those that we applied a payment to with the Prepay Apply report. So it shows the customer what their ad was, the payment that's been applied, and that they have a zero balance due after these payments. I'm not going to go through the rest of these invoices in the preview, but you can do that. And if you want to look at only one invoice from the invoice search, you just click on the invoice number and you get a pop-up. And there again, you see that invoice number. Once I've previewed, I'm ready to email these. I'm going to check, select all, and I'm going to go down to the email button, and I'm going to choose email with payments. Again, I want these invoices that I've already applied a payment to reflect that when I send them to my clients. I'm going to click the email button, and then I'm going to put my a from email. I'm going to say this is coming from accounting, and I'm going to put a subject line, October ABC invoices. I'm going to create an email job, and I'm going to email these invoices. And that's done. They've gone out. I'm going to open the job and have a look, and you'll see that it tells you which invoices went and which invoices didn't go. Looks like I have 3 accounts that I don't have an email address on the billing contact. So I'm going to want to go back in, update those accounts, get an email address in there, and then I'm going to resend the emails to these 3 clients. But the email job search shows you that information. Now, let's say I'm going to go back into this invoice search. I email my invoices to everybody, but I have some customers who want a printed invoice. And I've tagged those customers and I've put them into a contact group. So I'm going to go down here now and I'm going to print everyone who receives mailed invoices or statements. And I'm going to search again. And I have these customers, Affairs to Remember, Western Funding. They want a printed copy of their invoice. So now I'm going to go through again, select, and I'm going to print to PDF, print with payments, and click my arrow. Print all of these to a PDF, open the invoice. It's going to download on my computer. And here we go. Here is the invoice for Affairs to Remember. Here is the invoice for Western Funding. So again, use your contact groups to make your billing process easy. And you have those people that need that special handling, pull up just those invoices, do whatever you need to do with those, and makes your life much easier with your invoicing process. Something else that you might want to do with this invoice search, you've got all these filters in here. If you need to pull up all the invoices for one company, you can search and you can change your date range, pull it up. And again, if I had more invoices for this customer in that date range, I could focus just on them. Remember, you have very flexible search criteria in here that you can use. You may want to, and I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to run this search for all my ABC invoices again. You may need to void an invoice if you need to make a correction, or once we've created these invoices, if we find out that there's an error in one of them, to correct the invoice, you need to void the invoice and correct the underlying contract and then go through and rebill. So how do you void an invoice from the new invoice search? You're going to go through and you're going to select an invoice to void. And let's say we need to correct this Western Funding invoice. I'm going to choose it, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose Unlock. That's my first step. And here's a message. Oh, if there's a payment, the payment needs to be voided first. So I'm going to look at this, and sure enough, we've applied a payment to this invoice. So before I unlock it, I'm going to click on the 0 payment amount. I'm going to see the details of the payment, and I'm going to void it. Now you can see that the payment has been voided and the entire invoice is showing as outstanding for this October 1 invoice. I'm going to void the invoice now. I'm going to select it and I'm going to unlock it. There's my warning message. You're always going to see the warning message. If it doesn't apply, go ahead and click the button and do the unlock. Then I'm going to choose the same invoice again. I'm going to click void, and it's going to say, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I'm going to void it. That's how you use the new invoice search, and you use the unlock, and you use the void options down there. Okay, now we've gone through and we have looked at how you use the new invoice search, how you send out your invoices, how you void. What we're going to do next is take a look at the new statements functionality that we have. We have made some significant changes in our accounts receivable statement functions. I'm going to go to the new statements 2016, and this is what the statement search looks like. Now again, some of you, if you go into accounts receivable statements, if your menu is still bringing you to the old version of Create Statements, you can click at the top to be redirected and go to the new version. But I would suggest, again, reach out to your consultant, enter a help ticket, and let us add that to your menu. Just let us know and we will give you a direct link on your menu to this new features. The statement display has been significantly changed to show invoice details, to show consolidated invoice numbers, and to put it in a layout that is easy to follow. And it's also been enhanced by letting you now search by aging buckets, as you can see on here. This was not possible before. The consolidated invoice numbers that now appear on the statements is a biggie, because we had some customers who were not using our statements because they used the consolidated invoice numbers, but yet the consolidated invoice numbers were not reflected on the old version of statements that we had. We have updated the statements so that if your advertiser has a consolidated invoice that's been sent to them, the consolidated invoice number is going to show on the statements as well. So we're very excited about that. As you're looking in the statements and you're using the search, you will notice that you still have your two options. You can pull up everything that's open as of the statement date, or you can pull in all transactions for a specific activity period. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give an example of all the open transactions on a statement date. And I'm going to go down, and again, I'm going to limit this to the advertisers who have ads in this business unit. I'm going to search, and I'm going to bring this up, and there are no options underneath. We're going to go to the action panel and click it, and there is our action panel for our statement actions. If you look at this, this is new, showing the number of days overdue. So when you search and you're going to send a list of statements to your advertisers, you can tell right here. Here's a couple of people who are current. Here's one who's 120 days. Here's one who is has one in just about every aging category possible. So as you look at this, you can tell, and if you wanted to deselect any of these, you could, simply by unchecking or checking before you create the statements. Up in the upper right-hand corner, if you have a large number of statements, you're going to want to set this to show all on one page to avoid having to go from one page to the next, to scroll from top to bottom. So again, I don't have many today, but if I had more than 50, I would want to go here and show 100 per page. The next thing you want to do is you want to choose your statement template. I'm going to choose the regular statement template for ABC Media today, and I'm going to see what this looks like just with the due dates displayed with no details except the invoice number, and I'm going to preview. And you can see these are your statements. This is what it looks like. It has your statement date on it. It lists every open transaction, comes down to a balance, and these statements again have my link for a self-pay link that we can go through as well. So again, your advertisers can pay directly as soon as they receive the statement. You can look at the different options. If you change this to item description, and then let's open this up and look at a statement with item description, you see this takes the description portion of your invoice and it adds it in here. It's been formatted, easier to read, has the shading between the lines to make it easier for your advertisers to read. And here's your consolidated invoice number. Here's an invoice number, here's the due date, and here's every line item within that invoice listed with the one consolidated invoice number total. So again, these are how the consolidated invoices come through on your statements. You can also go through and look at the entire invoice detail, preview that. It still gives you more details. It pulls everything from your invoices into the statements. So you can limit the number of detail you want to give your customers. You can also do other things. You can hide the aging summary. You could display voided transactions if you needed to. You could hide payments if you needed to. What you want to do is go in here and experiment and use your preview button, and you'll see how these statements are going to look as you make your changes. It's pretty easy to check that out. We can go through, now that we've selected these statements, we can click Select All, and you can go down and email the statements just as you email the invoices. You can put in your email subject line, your from email address, and you can click to send your statements via email to your advertisers that quickly. Now, remember, we have some people who want printed invoices and statements, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to accommodate them. I'm going to pull up my printed or my mailed invoices and statements, and I'm going to search again, and you see it filters it. It gives me just the people that I need to print the invoices for. So now I can go down, I can print to PDF. Again, I can print these to PDF. It's going to give me a statement job which downloads on my computer, and I can print these out and put them in an envelope. And you can see here is the formatting for the statements as they're printed to a PDF. Now, one more thing you might want to do when you're sending out a list of all open invoices. We mentioned that you can choose by aging bucket. If you simply want to send an invoice to everybody who has a past due balance, but nobody who does not have a past due balance, you can hold your control button down and you can choose your different aging buckets. And if I run this search, I'm going to get everyone who has a past due balance, period. And I'm going to get rid of this contact group so you can see them all. And you notice if they're current balance, they're not included. So this lets me easily send my statements to the people who have an outstanding balance. But maybe I want to take this a step further. You can have multiple statement templates. So let's choose a statement template for collection. I have a collection statement template here that I'm going to choose, and I'm going to unselect everything except 120 days. So you can see I'm going to choose just this one. I'm going to search, and these are my people, my bad boys at 120 days past due. So now if I preview, here I have big red letters, collection attempt at the top. I have my big red text at the bottom, threatening further collection efforts. Obviously, you would edit this however you see fit and how you work with your delinquent accounts in that process. But you can use this to help you collect. Send those special collection targeted letters. And that's not the only thing you can use different statement templates for. If you want to have a different version for each different aging bucket, you could. And you could select by aging bucket to take advantage of those. But that is, again, that's something that's been wanted for quite some time, and we're very happy to put that selection by aging bucket out here. Now you can also do a statement for everything in an activity range. So if we want to change this and we want to set our dates, and I'm going to go back to September 1st through today's date, just so I'll get a good bit of activity included in here. And this is going to give you, it's kind of like a credit card statement that you receive. It's going to start out with your opening balance, a total. Then it's going to list all of your invoices that you received, all of the payments that you made, and it's going to take you down to an ending balance. And there's a box under here that says include customers with a balance. What is that? Let's say you have a customer who owed you money on August the 31st. They didn't advertise in the intervening period. They also didn't make a payment in the intervening period. You want to send them a statement. So you want to check that box. You don't want them to forget they have an obligation, and just because they didn't run an ad or make a payment, you don't want to skip their statement. So you're going to check that box to include those customers. Then you're going to search, and you're going to get a list of everybody who either had a balance at August 31st or who has had a transaction since then. And let's switch back to our normal statement template. And let's choose an item description because that's my favorite. And let's go through and just take a quick preview, and we'll walk through some of these. And you notice you can continue to click Next on each of these screens, and it will page through your statements. And you go through. For example, this one, here's an opening balance, $7,029, and here's a payment. They paid with one check. These are the invoices they paid, and it's going to show you how the payments were applied, which you can see. Then it's going to come through and it's going to list your invoice numbers. Everything's going to be listed in chronological order. It just happened that their payment was on September the 1st, and their invoices were dated later on during the month of September. But these are going to be listed in the order in which they occur. And again, the shading on the statement makes it much easier to see across and to see which line item goes with which amount. And at the bottom, we have our aging. We're going to close this, and we're going to go back here. And you can see these are your two options. So you're either going to be sending activity statements, or you're going to be sending a list of all open transactions along with your various search features. Okay, now that we've gone over your statements and the new statement template, I'm going to touch base on some of the reporting for accounts receivable. Of course, you have your standard reports. My go-to report has always been accounts receivable aging summary, because that gives you an aging of all of your customers. You can choose it for cash customers only, barter customers only, or all open accounts receivable. You can click the customer name to go into the customer record, or you can go back in here, go back into the aging summary. You can drill down into any of these numbers. And if you look at any invoice number, this shows the balance due. If you go to the prepayment or credit, it will show you the information that's been posted to the customer account. And if you click to zoom in, it will take you to a version of the invoice search page, and it will show you the open invoices. You can click, and you can actually look at the invoice 2 clicks away from the aging summary. You can see your invoice detail. And if you need to look at any information for the payment, you can click on the amount due, and you'll see any payments that have been posted. And as we go through here, this gives you the detail of the invoice, and here's the payment detail. This was a payment from the customer account made on September the 6th. So you can get to a lot of information from that aging summary, and it's nice and neat, gives one line item per advertiser. Another report that is in the system is the accounts receivable aging detail, and again, that's a traditional aging detail. If you click view, rather than giving you a summary with aging by customer, it's going to list every open invoice and every unapplied payment, and it's going to organize them by aging buckets that they fall into. These are all current, 0 days past due. And even though these have a date of September the 23rd, they are current because the due date is October the 23rd. And all of the agings in Magazine Manager are based upon the invoice due date. So this is still current, 0 days past due. And as you see the invoice numbers in here, if you want to look at the invoice, you simply click and it's going to pull up the invoice to let you have a look and see what was on it. That's the aging detail. I want to spend more time now on a report called the Accounts Receivable Transactions Report. This is a report that's going to show you your changes in your accounts receivable balance during the period that you have entered here. And it's going to default to month to date in the month that you happen to be in. So this one is October 1 through October 4th, which is today. Of course, you can edit the dates if you want to, or you can accept these dates, or you can pull it for every transaction that happened today if you're using this to balance back to your cash receipts for the day. I'm going to click Display, and I'm going to see this was my total accounts receivable balance on September the 30th, $605, $370.41 cash, $250 barter, and there's my total. So it shows me a total for each type of invoice. It's going to show me everything that I billed, every payment that was posted, and then it's going to show me the net balance at the end of the period. That's my summary. Then if you drop down a little lower, it's going to break it down into more detail. You're going to see that although we didn't receive any cash payments, checks, or MasterCards or Visas during these 4 days, we did apply payments from a customer account, and you see that it's applied from the unapplied customer account to the invoices. So you can see that going back and forth on this report. The bottom part of this report shows the detail for every transaction that is summarized above. And if you want to drill down and see more detail, maybe you want to see who we posted these payments from the customer account to. I'm going to click this number, and it's going to show me, okay, Affairs to Remember, $36.85, Arcasia Automotive, $1,000. There's your $4,685. There's your detail. If you want to see everything that you invoiced, you click on the invoice number, and you get a list of all the invoices created during this period. You can click on the invoice number, you can look at it. Again, it's a great resource to show you everything that changed and let you drill down and see the details. Now, you can also use this when you're dealing with an advertiser. If you are the accounts receivable manager and you have a customer on the phone and they would say, I have sent you a check, 2 checks, I don't think you've received them, I don't agree with how you posted them, you can search for a particular customer. And I'm going to back these dates up a little bit to have a few more transactions in this interval of time. And let's search for one of my customers. I'm going to enter in the customer name. I'm going to click Search. And I'm going to choose, you see it gives me 2 possible customers that match. I'm going to choose 360 Bike Studio. I'm going to click Display. And this tells me what happened with them. They were fully paid up August 31st. We invoiced them and we received payments, and here's what they owe. And if we want to drill down into it, what did we post their payments to? We click here, and here we see it. Here is a payment by check on the 21st that paid these 3 invoices. Here's a credit card payment on the 21st that paid this invoice. If you want to see the invoices that you bill to them, you click the invoice number and you can tell them. You can talk to them about these invoices, you can pull them up, you can look at them, you can refer to the invoice numbers. So this is an excellent tool for working with your customers, going over their accounts, looking at all the transactions that have occurred. Now, I want to take you to one more report that's not really on the Reports tab, but it's an awesome report for following up with accounts receivable. And it's on the Advanced Search tab. So I'm going to come here. And you know, while I'm looking at this too, I see that I have a lot of tabs open in the top of my screen. Makes it hard to follow. So I'm going to clean this up a bit. I'm going to go up and I'm going to right-click on one of these tabs. And I'm using a PC. I'm going to right-click. If you're a Mac, I believe it's a control-click. And you'll see these options. I'm going to do a quick cleanup. I'm going to close all my tabs. And that closed all the tabs that I had opened up, gives me a clean slate. I do that all the time. I never close my tabs as I go. I wait and I clean them all up. So now I'm going to go to the Advanced Search tab. And I'm going to click on Saved Searches. And you can see I have accounts receivable showing on here. I'm going to click to open this up and look at this. I can pull up any type of an aging bucket and pull up my customer list for any of these. And I can do this because in the Employee Editor, my user account is set up to be able to view access to all accounts receivable list. So you need to make sure that setting is done on your user account, and then you will be able to see this accounts receivable tab. Once I open this up, I click on one of these and I'm going to see a list of all my customers with accounts receivable in that aging category. And I see this nifty little pop-up. I see the total number of invoices, the total amount, how much is paid, and how much is due. And I also see a pay invoice link. I have my merchant account linked to my Magazine Manager site, so I'm going to click Pay Invoice. It's going to take me to the Receive Payment screen. I can come in here. I can choose, this is going to be a MasterCard. We're going to process a payment of $500 today. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to choose where to apply it to. And actually, they owe me $3. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change this to $300. I'm going to apply this to all the invoices and I'm going to select them. And I'm going to click my credit card button. Remember, I have my merchant account linked. Here we go. Here's where I process my payment. I enter in their credit card information, and if I had processed a payment for them before, I would see the first 4 digits and maybe the last 2 digits of their credit card number here. I would see their expiration date, and I could simply submit and process it again without having to pull that credit card up in front of me and look at it. So this is a shortcut that if you've got your merchant account linked up and you get somebody on the phone and they say, I'm ready to pay now, you can take advantage. You can pull up your payment window, process the payment then and there, and tell them, okay, we're done, your card has gone through. So from this Advanced Saved Searches, you can see what they owe and you can process a payment for them. You can also split this screen, and then as you click on the customer's name, you see all of their information here in the right-hand area. Here's an invoice that was printed today. I want to look at the invoice. I can click on it. I can see it. Ooh, here's a statement that I sent them today. I'm going to click here. Here's the statement that I just sent to them, because as you print the invoice or email the invoice or the statement, you're going to place that note on the customer's account, and you're going to have it in there where you can look at it, you can see what was most recently sent to them. You've got all their contact information. You can pick up the phone, you can call her, and maybe Diane is going to tell you, gee, you know, I know we owe you $3,000. I can't pay you that today, but we've got a big payment expected for us next Monday. Why don't you call me Wednesday and I'll pay it? Come right up here, go into your callbacks, schedule a callback for next Wednesday. Call her at 8 o'clock, bright and early, and you're going to come in here and put promised to pay $3,000. And you're going to add that callback. And if you're using your callbacks, which again, that's actually another training that we would be getting into, but if you're using your callbacks, you can go into the advanced search, pull up your callbacks every day, and there's your reminder so that you can continue to follow up on her because you've put a callback in the system. Okay? As you go down the list, you can continue to click down. You can see their information. If you want to go into the full customer account, you can. You can click here, go to the contact page, and it'll put you right into the contact page where there you can, again, look at all notes and activities. You can see their contracts. You can see what they've got scheduled in the future as well. Maybe they owe you money and they've got a lot of more ads scheduled and you want to talk about that. So this is your go-to tool for collection and following up with your customers. This combined with your statements. Send your statements out, then you come in here to the Save Searches and you start making your follow-up calls. Gives you everything that you need at your fingertips. I do want to point out one thing though. If you have accounts receivable list turned on your user account and you come in here, there is one more thing that you need to turn on before you're going to see these pop-ups. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back into my contact search, and what you're going to want to do is go into Save Searches, open the Action Panel, and you're going to come down here and you're going to edit the results view because you need to make sure that you choose Go to Contact Page and you choose Invoice. This is what's going to turn on those links for you to go to the customer page and to be able to see the total invoices outstanding and have that Pay Now button. Once you do that, you're going to come down here, save your results view, and I've already done this once, but I'll save it again. I call it my AR, I'll call this one Collections, my Collections view, and I will save it. Okay? Once you make sure that that option is turned on, you'll be able to do what I was doing. You'll be able to go into your Save Searches. You'll pull this up. You can split the screen, make your phone calls, and process payments as needed, all from right here. This is one of my favorite follow-up items in accounts receivable. Couple of points, 2 or 3 things I want to mention for more ways that you can make your accounts receivable cut your AR time significantly with managing. First of all, if you're already invoicing in accounts receivable, that's step 1 because you can invoice an entire issue, hundreds of invoices in one screen using the invoices screen that we've seen. You can easily send your payments out, send your statements out, send your invoices out. Make sure you use contact groups. If you're not using contact groups and you have those people with special needs and you need to make sure that they get extra special handling, that you're able to identify them easily, set up a contact group and put your customers into the contact groups and use them either in the invoicing search for people with special terms or for that would be the new invoice, or the invoice search for people that need tear sheets or people that need mailed invoices. Set it up for you so that it works for you and you're not going down the line and selecting or unselecting people for special handling. My next hint would be look at your merchant account. If you don't have your merchant account set up, reach out, talk to your consultant. They can give you information on doing this because you get a self-pay link that goes in your invoices. Your advertisers can get that invoice in the email, click on it, pay it that day. You also get the ability to process your credit card payments from within your Magazine Manager site. No more going somewhere else and processing the credit card payments and coming back in here and updating your system. Do it once, memorize the credit card numbers, have that shortcut available to process, and you'll also have a accounts receivable aging report for credit card processing that will let you pull up a list of everybody who owes you money and has a memorized credit card. So if you have people that you process payments for every month, link your merchant account, use that batch credit card processing screen, and process everybody's credit card with one click. Again, another huge time saver if you're doing a lot of credit card processing, definitely worth looking into. And finally, QuickBooks integration. If you are a QuickBooks user, you want to look at that QuickBooks integration package. And this is one that we have a webinar coming up at the end of December. So sign up for the webinar or reach out to your consultant if you want more information on this before that. This will let you enter information in one place, and any address change data for your advertisers, any new invoices, any payments can be sent through to QuickBooks from Magazine Manager. It's an awesome time saver for you QuickBooks users who are out there. So again, I want to suggest that. This concludes our webinar for today. I want you to look for a follow-up email with a link to the recording of the webinar, and it'll also be added to the webinar's site in the help section that we looked at the beginning. Remember the webinars we have scheduled now: October 25th, Digital Studio Enhancements, November 24th, Software Tips and Tricks, and December 27th, QuickBooks Integration. And be on the lookout. We will, as it gets later in the year, we'll be looking at our scheduling. We will be continuing our webinars into 2017. And again, you know where to find them in help now. We've just looked at that. So thanks for your time today. Hope you've learned some new information, and look forward to talking to you soon.